Yeah, no, I'm good. Look at that. I get to hear my own voice like I'm on the telephone.
That's a good thing.
Like I'm on an old telephone.
All right, I think we're locked in. We got sound levels. Yeah.
I got
Act like I know what I'm
I don't know
doing.
if this is going to be enough water. I'm going to be
You know,
honest. I'm going to be honest right off the top.
You know what's funny is that I filled a smaller cup, and I was like, "This looks like a child's cup."
I have these same cups.
Yeah,
Are they from IKEA?
could be. My wife probably bought them wherever she buys things.
Tumbler? What would you call this?
Is that it's kind of like an oversized,
It's like a rocks glass.
Yeah,
but
like a real alcoholic's glass of.
yeah. Like if you were gonna make a whiskey in this, you're like,
Yeah.
you're done work for the day.
After
This is not a early morning scotch to get you going.
No, not at all.
It's time to wind down.
But I think that's why Canadians are so like beer heavy, because we know this as Canadians. Like they pour really weak drinks in Canada.
Yes, they do.
It's like, so if you get like some sort of mixed drink, it's mostly the mix.
Yeah, they measure. That was like the first time I drank down here.
Yeah. It's a eye-opening experience to see how
overserved by my own. It was my fault, but it was like
yeah.
It made me understand.
Yeah.
I was finally on the side of measuring every shot.
Right.
You pay more, but you know
where you're at.
You know what's happening.
Yeah.
You're on. There's road signs.
Right.
On the way.
And like a bottle of Grey Goose, for instance, here is like $30. In Canada, it's like $70.
Yeah.
So they have to portion it.
Yeah.
They'll go broke.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. But you just came back from a theater tour?
I did.
How was that?
It was the best. Yeah. Theaters, there's so many good reasons to perform in a theater with comedy in the style that I do.
Right.
Some people thrive in a club, and that's great if you can do that. But I'm not that kind of comedian. I'm more of a theater comic, I think. I don't know.
Are you saying that because of your act or because of your audience?
Yeah, I think because of my act. Because I don't really do any crowd work. I don't really do any, like, who's drinking tonight? Like, I don't have any stories about
I would love to see you do a who's drinking tonight?
I don't have that in my act. I try to just do jokes, and I try to be a little bit more theatrical. And I'm hoping to make that my trajectory. Like, I would, in preference, I would love to eventually do theaters. I mean, I think we all would, just from the money aspect. But as far as a show goes, I like a theater because they're all seated facing you.
Right.
They don't have drinks. There's no servers.
Right.
And especially there's no check drop.
Right.
I was talking to somebody. I don't know if you've talked about check drop on this podcast.
Not yet, no.
For those of you unfamiliar, check drop is the time in a set when you are headlining a comedy club when they make the people in the audience pay their tab.
Right. So you have waitresses bustling through the tables. People are half paying attention now.
Yeah, it's insane. You can't do two things at once.
Right.
You know, it's like if you were at a movie and then in Act 3, somebody came up to you and was like, "Sir, excuse me, sir."
Right before they kill Thanos.
Can you pay?
Right.
Yeah, I know. Can you pay the popcorn now? You had popcorn earlier.
Right.
I don't know if you remember when you had popcorn, but you have to pay for that, right? It's like Thanos is dying or whatever. It's like, it's so insane.
And he's like, "I didn't order this popcorn. Whose drink is this? This is not mine."
It's such an insane model that clubs all do because, of course, the other. It's harder to do it after,
right?
Because it takes more time to flip the room. You got to have more staff on.
Yeah.
People can run out on their tabs more easily.
Yeah.
So I definitely see all the arguments from the business side of doing it.
Well, because it's mostly a restaurant.
Yes, yeah. I mean, they don't make any money off it, but it gets people in the door.
Yeah.
But if you are like a comedian who is a name, I think at clubs they should have. I mean, you don't want to create that world where only half the comedians have check drop in the middle of their set.
Right.
But it is, because if you think about like when you're on stage for 45 minutes, a check payout, including doing last call,
right?
Optimistically, that takes about 20 minutes. That's almost half of the time that you're on stage.
Right.
You're dealing with this is why features always get the misconception that they're like, I'm so much better than the headliner. Well, yeah, you had nothing in your way.
Right.
You had no obstacles. You just had
you
to
had
go
the sweet spot.
Yeah.
You had a host open for you. They're warmed up. You do a short set.
Featuring is the best.
Yeah.
If you are a feature, stay a feature. It's like when I was a feature, I was very reluctant to make the jump to headline because I knew all this. I was like, I love featuring. It's so juicy. It's 20 minutes. You don't even have to deal with shifting your energy or anything, pattern breaks, none of that. You just go hard for 20 minutes straight.
Right.
And then you're like, good night, I'm the best. And everybody's like, oh my God.
You relax, you watch the headliner, and
yeah.
And
you
you're
go
out.
home early. Get home before midnight on the Saturday Late Show. Come on.
But you have to make that jump at some point.
Yes, of course, for the money.
Right.
Because there's not a lot of money in featuring.
Right.
But you sell merch. I understand down here that people make no money featuring.
Right.
They only make money off merch, which is why I'll always let a feature sell stuff.
Right. Oh, that's nice.
I think that it's weird when headliners are like, if you sell stuff, then it makes sense.
Right.
Because you don't want them to cut into your sales.
And when you say down here, are you saying because features get more in Canada?
No, I think they just have day jobs.
Oh, okay.
They don't really travel.
Right. Because Canada's an interesting country because it's so few people, so spread out.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you tour Canada as a comedian, or is that it's much better just to do like Vancouver, Seattle, Portland?
Yeah, I just did with this theater tour.
Yeah.
But it's an organization behind it. It's an extremely, to be able to afford to fly comedians from province to province.
Right.
You have to sell 8,000 tickets in a city, the big ones. And then,
Which you were doing?
I think we sold 30,000 total.
Amazing.
In like 27 shows.
Yeah.
And so that's I don't know what the math is on that, but there's 30 million people in Canada. So 30,000 is what percent of the population?
It's 1%.
1%. There you go. See, I'm learning.
That's
I was
pretty
going to
good.
say 1%, but I was like,
I kind of guessed.
maybe?
Someone check us on that, but
Yeah. It's a lot of zeros to move the decimal place.
we got to
in my
move.
head.
So you got to move it over too. So maybe it's 0.1%.
Yeah, 0.1%. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's not very
Yeah.
many. It's such a weird number scheme. So yeah, touring in Canada as a whole, pretty difficult. And I remember when I started going on the road out of Vancouver, it was insane because you'd basically the next town over is Kelowna.
Right.
And so that's a 6-hour drive with weather, 4 hours if you're speeding and know the roads.
Right.
And it's it's insane how, other than that, everything else is in this 8 to 9 hour circle. Even Alberta, Calgary is a 13-hour drive.
Oh, it's mental.
Or you can fly, but if you fly, you don't make any money on the tour.
Yeah, because Canada flights are expensive.
Yeah, they're very expensive too. And I've heard it's because it's more expensive to land a plane in Canada. It's got something to do with the airports.
Taxes. The second you land in a Canadian airport, something like $100 goes on every ticket or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was thinking about going to Toronto in December for a few shows, and once I did the math on the ticket and everything, I was like, this is insane.
You could go to
I could go to Italy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was when I worked for the Ministry of Education for a little while, and they would fly us to northern Canada.
What did you do?
I was doing assemblies at schools to teach kids about science.
Okay.
It was
what a good guy.
An initiative that came in back when we had a more giving government, I guess.
Because you were Science World, right?
Yeah. And it was
Okay.
through Science World, and so they basically paid to have every child in the entire province come to Science World, and if they were too far away, we would go to them.
Oh, I loved Science World as a kid. Oh, it was the best.
Yeah.
Science World is what would you call it? It's like an exhibit, a permanent science exhibit in...
Yeah, it's a museum.
Science museum. There you go.
It's like a children's museum, but it's not, it's very fun. It's super interactive. They had... The best part about it were the live shows.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was built in a circle.
Right.
It was in a temporary structure that was built for Expo 86.
Yeah. That's
and then
you would everything. It's pretty famous.
It's very famous. Yeah, it's like a ball. It looks like a golf ball.
Yeah.
But it's the story behind it was that the city, after Expo 86 was over,
right,
the city was taking proposals from developers. This is before condos.
Yeah.
On what we should do with this building.
Right, before pre-condo Vancouver.
And whoever has the best idea for this space gets to name the price they feel they should pay for the property.
So Canadian.
And so Science World had this great proposal because they were working out of like this little office in downtown, and they were just going to schools and like doing stuff. And sometimes they would have a thing in like BC Place,
right?
Bring some stuff. And they tell me stories about like back then they had these like illegal, like a 9-foot Tesla coil that you would stand in water and like shoot lightning out of your hand. And it was like, is it safe? They're like, it's fine. It's fine.
Oh my
just don't let any
God.
kids come up to you. So, the Wild West.
You just turn into like the Emperor from Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. You put thimbles on your fingers and then you'll shoot like.
Oh my God. Kids are just keeling over.
Because it's alternating current, so it goes over the surface of your body or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It won't kill you. But anyway, they bid. The city said yes, and they said we would like to pay $1.
Right.
And the city said okay, fine. So they paid $1 for that building.
Okay. I mean, it's good for society. It's good for the kids. It's good. They've, education is important, so I'm sure they've gained on that investment. And it was probably 86. It probably was worth $1.
Yeah, it's true. But anyway, the point I was trying to make was that we used to fly to like northern British Columbia, and the flights were like $1,700.
It's crazy.
It's like, you could go to Italy, you could go to Spain. Like, it's so crazy.
Yeah, even like, because my parents live in Victoria, just going to Victoria is like, it's $400 a head.
Yes.
And then that's if you pick like the worst times.
Yeah. My mom's up in Powell River.
And it's American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Powell River doesn't... Well, they have an airport, but it's like little float planes.
Oh, yeah.
So if there's any wind or rain, they're
done.
like, we're not doing it.
Right.
We're not going.
So you could get there then be like, nah, we're not doing it.
Yeah. It takes all day to get there if you leave Vancouver, because you have to take 2 ferries. You go like up. It's because it's on the coast, but it's not.
Yeah.
I think maybe this might be a foreign concept to the United States. There are places in Canada where they don't have a road that goes there. It's easier to get there by boat. So
I did not know this.
You just go up. It's on the mainland, like it's not on the island.
Okay.
But there's all these cities along the coast of British Columbia where because of the Rocky Mountains, you can't go around.
Okay.
You can't drive there, so they just ferry everything up.
That's wild.
So, but they get very upset. I've done gigs there. And you're like, it's great to be on the island. Always someone's like, it's not the island, you jerk. It's the mainland.
Oh my God. They're so funny.
It's like, we took a ferry.
Yeah. I did an opening spot for Chris Gordon at Heckler's.
Oh, sweet.
And there was so much island humor.
Oh, yeah.
There like a guy could go up there and do 10 minutes on Nanaimo.
Oh,
and
totally.
Just kill.
Yeah. I have a 10-minute bit on the BC ferries. Which is like the boat you have to take to get over there.
Yeah.
That destroys there. Can't do it anywhere else.
No.
Because they don't know what I'm talking about.
They don't even know what a ferry is.
Even in Vancouver, it's like you can't guarantee that people have gone to the island.
Yeah. I mean,
on the island, everybody knows about the ferry.
Yeah. I used to love a ferry. As a kid, the ferry boat meal.
Yeah.
And the wind is in your face. You're running around the deck.
You got a big ship that got a really loud
You load
horn.
the cars onto a boat as a kid. It's just like your mind is blown.
Yeah. Driving onto a boat.
Yeah. But at some point you had to make the decision, right? To come down here and say, I'm going to America.
Yes, because in Canada, as we said about the population problem, and things are going well in Canada still, and I like it. I will go back up there and work. That's where I make a significant portion of my income, but I don't need to be there to do that.
Right.
A flight to Toronto from here is about the same as a flight to Toronto from Vancouver.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so it doesn't really... The only difference is... Yeah, so in Vancouver, I felt like I was just kind of getting stagnated. They closed the comedy club that I started at.
The Mix?
The Comedy Mix. So that's gone. So I don't have a place anymore that I can like go and get up whenever I need to work
comedian?
on something. No. Any of these like layers in the industry are based on, is it worth the money for you to do it yourself?
Right.
Or is it worth it to pay somebody to do it so you can focus on other stuff? I personally am very like, you book the flights, I'll pay you. Sure, go ahead. Because this tour was a great example of that. It was like, it's the sort of top point of comedy where you are just a comedian.
Right.
On that tour, I didn't have to think about what I was going to eat. I didn't have to think about where I'm going to drive, where the next gig is,
They're
what
picking
time
you up,
I have
they're
to
doing
get
it.
up,
Yeah.
where the airport is,
Right.
how I'm going to rent a car. And you have to do all this stuff.
Oh, yeah. The logistics
when I can
side.
hand it off and just like, they go, it's 10 o'clock, meet us in the lobby.
Yeah.
Here's your boarding pass. I'm like, great, this is the best.
It's magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get why people have like a whole team. Because then you can pile a team on like crazy. Like the bigger you get, the more you're okay
Agent,
with
manager.
shelling out
a
percentage of your income for the agent, manager, lawyer, PR person.
Well, you have a
social
machine.
Media.
It's like you're running a small business, and you can't do everything yourself.
Yeah, accountant.
Right. Social media person, some people.
Social media, absolutely. So I can't wait to hand that off.
Yeah.
I'm so bad on social media.
Why do you say you're bad?
I don't know. I just don't.
Bad or unmotivated?
I do it, but it's like, sometimes I'll tweet like a lot and then it'll just get like nothing. So I'll do like 1 or 2 a day.
1 or 2 a day tweets?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I try and do that. And then I try and do don't look at my timeline. It doesn't reflect that. I said I try.
Try, yeah.
But when I was on the tour, I was like really sort of trying to make a concerted effort to like do an Instagram story and stuff. But even that, I feel so
dumb.
Because I want it to be good.
I know.
And so I'm just like in my hotel room, like, okay, guys, here we are. And
yeah. I finally walked around the comedy bunker with my phone and been like, hey, this is where we're setting up. Here's the chairs.
See, that's great. But that's great.
And people loved it, but I was I was so hesitant to like do it. But then you get used to it and you're like, the funniest thing is when you're like, hey guys, this is the, fuck. Hey guys, and you keep redoing it. And you're like,
yeah, you have to be, it's that thing that actors are so good at getting rid of is the like, when you do a take.
Right.
And it's good, do it again. Say the same thing for the camera. Because like sometimes that'll happen where someone will roll and I'll have thought of this like very clever thing to say at the beginning of the thing.
Right.
Everybody's like, hey, welcome to the thing. This is Ivan Decker. And I'm like, it's always nice to be spicy. Something better than that.
Totally, yeah.
But they'll be like, oh, it didn't roll. Can you go again? And they're like, hey, everybody, we're here with Ivan Decker. I'm like, hi. And like, I don't do the line because I already did it. And it kind of got a laugh in the room or whatever, but they didn't roll on it.
Right. It's hard to like bring yourself back to that moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just took an acting class and it was great.
Good.
Yeah. I got a lot out of it. Like it helped me, with my voice dynamics and being present and, knowing when to be still, knowing when to move and all that stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
It was really good.
That's cool. How long was the course?
It was 8 weeks. It was like once a week.
Once a week for an hour?
4 hours.
4 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's a lot of rehearsal.
Yeah.
But it's good. You learn how to like break down a script and like what the intentions are.
Oh, that's really great.
Yeah. I was at Leslie Kahn. It was good. I would highly recommend it.
Yeah.
A lot of comedians recommended me to it. They're like, I got a lot out of it. And I dilly-dallied for a while. I was like, I don't need to do that. And then I'm glad I did.
No, if you're thinking about doing acting, then it's very important.
Yeah, I'm not, but it helped the stand-up, and that's why I did it.
That's good.
Yeah.
I took improv to try to help my stand-up, but I took it too late into stand-up, so it kind of messed with the rhythm a little bit.
Oh, so like you already had your voice, and you're already a professional comedian?
I was, but I don't know if I had my voice. That's such a like amorphous thing.
Right.
There's times when you're like, I got my voice. I feel like I'm me.
Yeah.
And then it falls away like sand through your fingers.
Yeah,
and
you're
like, who am I? Like you get to like
it's existential.
Yeah. You get to like 11 years in, 12 years in, and you're like, what am I saying? What's going on?
Right.
This isn't me anymore. Because like, also if you have bits that you wrote when you were a different person, when you're still doing those bits, they're coming from a different place now.
Yeah.
You have to almost break them down and rework them.
Yeah.
It's finding this whole like finding your voice. People act like it's you find it and then you got it, but that's not true at all.
No, it's a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to like ride it like a wave.
Yeah.
You get in it and then you're like, okay, I'm in the pocket. I'm rolling. I feel good. I got a good momentum. I'm writing good stuff when I'm on stage. I feel like I'm there and I'm present and then you'll fall out and you'll spend months, sometimes years of being like, what's happening? What's going on? Why don't I feel like I'm supposed to be here? It's like it's this weird thing. And then it's all about trying to like figure out whatever you did to capture that feeling or that moment of being in that pocket. And I mean, people have different words for it. I know musicians do it too. They talk
the
about
pocket,
just like being on fire, or
you're locked in, and you're just
and it's like that's why it's always so funny when people go off on a rider for a musician. I'm like, you understand, like we're as an artist, as a performer, we are just looking at trying to recreate whatever made us, like if we have a really good show, I'll be like, what underwear did I wear?
What shirt?
What did I eat? What did I do? What time did I get up? What did I do the night before? Who did I talk to? What music did I listen to?
80% of my shows, I wear the same hoodie.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I feel good in this hoodie.
Yeah.
Some hoodies I don't feel funny in.
Oh, yeah. I've had the opposite. I've had pants where I bombed, and I'm like, get out of here, pants.
Dude, I have pants I just wear and I have a bad day. And I like, these are my bad day pants. Like, they're gone. I've walked several pairs of bad day pants, like straight to the trash.
That's so funny.
It's superstition, and it's a whole
because we don't know. You don't know where a feeling comes from.
Yeah,
this is the human condition of like when you feel really good,
right?
As soon as you immediately start to go like, man, I feel great. How did I get here? Then you feel bad,
right?
You're like,
you come off a great show, and then you're like going to a terrible one. You're like,
yeah. Even I have times when I'm like, I'm not on a show, but I'll feel it, and I'll be I'll be like, I'm like Mark Wahlberg in Boogie Nights, where he's like, I want to shoot the scene now, because like I have lunch with somebody and I'm like feeling good,
right?
And
yeah,
like, man, if I had a show tonight, that'd be great. And then it's just like I can't get up anywhere.
Oh
like,
yeah,
no.
Or even sometimes you're just with a bunch of people and you're doing bits, you're making everyone laugh. You're like, hand me a mic.
yeah.
It's only 3:00.
yeah.
That's why I love.
You book a show and then you go home, you have a nap. The show comes,
everything's
like,
gone. Yeah. That's why I love the Oyster. Do you ever stop by the Oyster Bar show, like right up the street from here?
No.
So it's like a weekly bar show. You should come.
Yeah, I'd love to.
It's like a drop-in show. Comedians just go up. It's usually like 75% comedians in the audience and like 25% audience.
Yeah.
And it's like going up there, you're really doing you. Like if you go up there and just do bits, people are like, they're not having it because it's mostly comedians. But if the more you are at that show, the funnier it is.
Yeah, that's great.
And I did a set there one time after like one beer, which I never do. Mm-hmm. And I had a great time because I was way looser. I was just riffing with the crowd and working it into bits and like a good combination of like bailing and like acknowledging what's happening in the room. And yeah, it's so fun.
That's the danger of alcohol.
Yeah.
It's like,
but I never did it again because I was like, I don't want to be that guy who like walks on stage with a drink. Nothing against those guys. I just know it's not me.
That's one of those, and and it can happen with hard drugs. Like what I'm talking about, like we're talking about pants and underwear, but there's people that are like, I have to do cocaine or Oxycontin.
They're all dead
to have a good show.
Yeah. That was the 80s though, from what I understand, right? Like Sam Kinison.
And they talked about how like the high you get when you get off stage.
Yeah.
They want to keep it going, so like they're doing blow and they're drinking.
Yeah. It was also like a party decade, like
things are doing great. Nobody really figured out the stock market yet. They weren't funneling the money to the same 5 people.
I mean, houses were $100,000. Like life was money. Good. What was it? I think it was Oasis, where like they're like, hey, like these kids nowadays in rock bands are so soft. You go behind stage, they're drinking bottled water. He's like, I want to hang out with real rock stars. So you walk backstage and they're passed out with a needle in their arm, and I'm sure that's what it was.
Yeah.
And you're a car guy too, which is cool because we bonded over that a little bit on our drives to like Comedy and Magic and hanging out.
Yeah, man. I love driving a car, and I don't know. To me, it's not this like, I gotta.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe it's from the fact that I get really bad motion sickness, which is a bad thing to have when you are
traveling every weekend,
all the time.
Yeah.
But when I'm driving the car is the only time I don't feel
in
sick.
The back seat or any seat? Any seat other than driving? Oh, wow.
Any seat other than driving. Back seat's worse. Back seat, I will rank them. Back seat middle is the bottom.
Okay.
Backseat windows are okay, but there's a seat in front of you, so you can't really see out the front.
Yeah.
Front seat, passenger side, considerably better than back seat, but still not as good as when you're driving. I don't feel anything.
No, because you're in control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
I know I love driving too. Like even when like I go to San Diego with Michael Blaustein a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, I'll drive. I don't care. Like I love it. Like I would way rather drive than not drive.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great. So when I started comedy, it would be I got a lot of work because I was like, I have a car, I will drive, all of us.
Right.
And the headline, say the headliners that like can't afford a car, or
right.
they don't have one, or they had their license suspended. So I would get to work because I mean that's like a pretty common joke is like, you got 10 minutes in a car, congratulations, you're a comedian. You're a feature.
Yeah. Yeah, and if
if you can drive the headliner to the gig.
If you're a good hang and you're a personable guy, everyone likes you and
yeah, and I think that's a big part of it too. A friend who used to book a show basically said for comedians there's 2 criteria. It's like, are you really funny? Or are you fun to be around?
Yeah.
You got to have at least one of those. Both are great.
Yeah.
But if you have neither,
you're done.
Get out of here. Why would I have you around? Why would I book you on my show?
Yeah. There's no reason.
No reason at all. There's no reason to be around that person. If you're not funny and you're not fun to be around.
I mean, I think funny is more important than all. If you're just funny, that's more important than being fun to be around.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of guys who are funny around. But
there's a lot of guys who are funny.
Yeah.
Who can go on stage. And I say guys in the gender neutral way.
Yeah.
But there are people who are, and this is the thing, is like, when you talk about your brand, something that I've always done is like, you have to take that other side into account. Mm-hmm. If you have a product that you're selling that people can get elsewhere,
right?
You look at like a grocery store is a good example of this because they all sell Cheerios and milk and bananas and whatever. And this is pretty much the same price across the board. So you have to have something that is going to get people to come to your store for the Cheerios. And usually it's proximity.
That's draw. That's where draw comes in.
Yeah, but it's like you can do it in a way, like some comics are Trader Joe's and they're like very unique and they have a specific audience and they come from really far to go to it's Trader Joe's though. You got to go.
Yeah, you don't have it in Canada.
There's other comics that are like Costco and they're like, I have the biggest things. These are very staples. And then, the sort of average comic is like your Safeway or your Ralph's or whatever.
Right, you just go there. It's there and it's like available.
It's there and it's available, but you have to be like customer service is a big part of it.
Right.
Like when I worked at a grocery store, they were like, people can go anywhere for milk. They come here because we put it in the bag.
Was
we're
it
nice.
Stong's?
We take it to the car. It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So in comedy, I've always felt that like, yeah, it's important to be funny. Yeah. It's important to crush on stage. But if you have 2 people, one of them crushes but is an asshole off stage in the car.
Right.
They are the worst. They yell at the crowd.
Yeah.
They're mean to fans. They're mean to you. They're mean to the staff. Or you have another person who's like, yeah, maybe even if they're not as funny, they're a little bit less, but great to be around.
Yeah.
Super nice, personable.
Right.
They hang out. You're going to go with person on
every time.
The other side every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Life's too short. You don't want this person around you.
So your arrogance and your incorrigibility, if you have those qualities, they are counting against. You have to be so much funnier.
Right.
If you're going to be a dick.
Yeah.
Than if you are funny but also nice. And when I've met and this I've talked to people in the industry about this, and it's always like they draw a layer of like there's comics on the way up and comics on the way down, and then you've got like the percentile at the top. And the percentile at the top are what I'm talking about. They're very funny, also great. Great to be around, very nice, usually. Almost 100% of the time. It's people on the way up and people on the way down that are the dicks. Because people on the way up are like, I am owed more.
Yeah.
I am the best.
Right.
Don't you understand? I had one thing that went well.
Yeah.
Treat me like a god. And then the people on the way down are just like bitter and they're like, I used to be the guy. Who's opening my car door for me?
I tell recording artists this all the time because a lot of them start out and they come in with an attitude, and then already the people at the company don't like them. The marketing department doesn't like them.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that doesn't matter because I'm so good. I'm like, yeah, it does matter because when you leave the room, they all care about you less. Yeah. And they're going to work the other person and be excited about the other person's record who wasn't a dick, who wasn't just blowing them off, who wasn't just being a massive problem 24/7.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people ask, same thing. People ask me like, hey, because I recorded some like Mary J. Blige and all these other people, and they're like, wow, weren't they such divas? I was like, no. They were so cool. They were totally relaxed, 100% professional. It's always the people coming up who are divas because they think they need to act like a diva, or they have an entourage of 45 people coming to the studio and like the professionals are like showing up doing it. It's a job. They're doing the work. They're going home, showing up with like their husband or boyfriend. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, because they've had a broad spectrum of experiences as well. They know they've reached this level. I mean, obviously the money is great. It's going to make anybody comfortable. But I think when you get to a high level and you realize you're like, oh, there's still bad gigs up here.
Yeah.
Because everybody thinks that, like, when you get to this top level,
right,
it's like all green lights. No, never any problems. Every crowd is there.
Right.
They're cheering. They love you.
Yeah.
Every gig goes smoothly. Nothing ever bad happens to you. Flowers grow in your steps when you walk. But it's like, so when people are on the way up, they've had a taste of that.
Right.
And they're like, this is considerably better than going to a club where nobody knows me.
Right.
But when you're at the top for long enough, you start to, things I think will come back into perspective, and you'll be like, oh yeah, there's still bad gigs.
But that's why the best comedians don't just do theaters, even though they could. They still go around to the clubs and they dip their toes in. Like you can walk over and see Sebastian Maniscalco at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to do that.
No, exactly. Sometimes you want
to
experience.
But it keeps you real.
You want to experience, and I think, and I know I went off earlier about how saying theaters are great.
Yeah.
And I do love them, but yeah, I mean, for working material, there's those two sides of comedy, right? Like the theater's the show. There's theater's the MLB. It's the game.
It's what you do. It's the end game. I mean, like Seinfeld says, like 20 minutes in comedian, that's not comedy. An hour and 15, that's comedy. Building, sustaining, like that's what you're doing it for.
Yeah, exactly. 20 minutes you can do. The thing I always look at is a goal or something that I will sort of measure a comedian's ability on is, do they have the ability to change the pH of a room?
Right.
Can they turn an audience around? Because that's a huge thing. Like if someone before them doesn't do well and the crowd gets bad and they start chatting, anybody can walk into a hot crowd, or most people. I mean, you'd have to be pretty bad that if someone ahead of you crushes and then someone else crushes and the crowd is hot and everybody's loving it, you can come on and crush. If the crowd is in the mood for that, you can do it.
Right.
And that all you have to do there is walk through the door.
Yeah.
There's no assembly required.
Right.
But when you go into a room, same situation, but nobody's really done well yet. The crowd hasn't cracked open.
Right.
If you can be the one to assemble the pieces. And this is something that depends on the MC. If you have a really good MC, then that's their job, is to make everybody do well.
Right.
If you're hosting a show, you shouldn't measure your ability by how well you do.
No.
You should measure it based on how...
A good host knows they're there for the better of the show.
For the better. If everybody in the show does well, the host did their job.
Right.
Even if they're miserable, which is, it's the thankless job in comedy.
Oh, it's From what I understand, in Canada, it's more of a prestigious job to be the host.
Yeah, they have headliners come in and do it, which can be bad because they want that feeling of like, I crushed. So they'll do too long off the top.
Right.
They'll bring the audience through like 2 full waves of like, they're here, should have brought the show out, but they bring it back down again, and then they go up a little bit because they want the juice, and then they don't give it to the rest of the comics.
Yeah, and then the bullet we talk about this a lot in the pod, but like the bullet has to rehost.
Yeah, they have
to
rehost.
Get it out of them and see who wants to talk and figure that out.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about is like, and it's even more difficult in the middle of a show. How, like they've been hot, they went down, but you brought them back, and that's huge.
Right.
Or going into a room where, this is why it's also so important to do shows where there's a mix of talent levels on that show.
Right.
So when you're at an open mic and everybody's at the same level, there's no headliners, there's nobody works in comedy, you don't have a benchmark. So everybody either thinks they're great or very bad, and there's nobody there there's nothing to measure yourself against.
Right.
But if you have a headliner or a working comic that comes into that room and takes the audience to like here. Right. Then they can you get to all see as the lower down comic. You're like, oh, that's what it is. That's what's possible. Yeah. Because if you haven't seen it happen, you're like, well, it can't be done.
Or it can't be done here at the open mic.
Yeah, it can't be done at this show.
Like, if Bill Burr walked into like the worst open mic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he'll get a bump because he's Burr and it's comics and they love him. So, right. But it's still, he would totally be able to crush way harder. But he would figure it out. Yeah. He would figure it out. Because even if they didn't know who he was, he has the skill set to
Stage
do what I'm talking
presence,
about, which is assemble all those other pieces that you don't think you need until you need them.
I mean, I've seen guys with their name on the Comedy Store wall walk into an open mic.
Yeah.
And it's that exact same thing you described. It's like they're just doing it at a different level.
Yeah.
And even though they're trying new bits and they're there for the same reasons, they're coming with a skill set that's just different.
Yeah, because when you do the road and when you do corporates and when you do things, you really learn how to assemble an audience out of a crowd of people.
Yeah.
You have to make them into an audience so much. And if you can figure that out, that's so much different than like showcase comics who like they got a great 7 minutes,
right?
But they only do the hot shows.
Hot shows.
Go in, you can kill, and you're like, I'm great. And it's like, but you don't. So, and it's always funny to see those comics because sometimes they do that for years and they've never had this corporate or road experience,
right?
And there's times when you'll see a comic who you think is like, this person's really good,
right?
But then they're in a room that's weird, and all of a sudden you're like, how do they not know to just talk to that guy or do this thing and
or adjust or get off the
change topics? Like they don't know,
right?
Because they haven't had.
And the shortest, if they're doing a short set, it's short enough that I'll just plow through it and get off stage. They don't have to sit with that crowd for 30 minutes.
Yeah,
and like really.
Oh, or an hour,
or be,
Man, when you're like. There's a real sort of visceral moment in comedy when you're doing a headline set. It's like 45 minutes, and you do your first big pop, like the bit that's supposed to do well, and it doesn't get anything.
Yeah.
And then you're like, and you like look at your watch. It's been like 1 minute, and you're like, oh boy,
here we go, 58 more.
I'm punching the clock today.
The last Comedy Bunker show was a unique one because the Sherman Oaks Chamber of Commerce reserved all like 45 seats.
Oh yeah.
They're like, oh, we just want to bring all of our team here. We're like, okay, cool. Like,
great.
So it wasn't exclusively them, but it was mostly them.
Yeah, and they take over.
Then they took over, and it was an older crowd, and it was very much that like you had to adjust to do well.
Because that's very different. Your crowd skews
young. Very young and very hip. So some people walked in and they were like, oh, this is different.
It's the road. The road is old. That's the other thing people need to understand. The road is very old. You do comedy in the city.
Oh, it felt like a road. It felt like we were in the middle of like Northern California or something.
The road is old. It's older couples.
Right. And like,
they got money.
Right. And they and I asked them, I was like, okay, so do you want like a cleaner show? I mean, you're getting the whole room basically. Do you want a cleaner? And they're like, no, we're cool. We don't want that. I was like, all right. I still lean towards people who I think would do well. And I think for the most part, everyone did great.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a different experience. It's going to be, and you're on tonight, so you'll see the difference.
Yeah. What is it tonight?
No, tonight is the regular crowd.
Regular show.
I don't know. You won't see the difference, but I'll see the difference.
You'll see the difference.
Yeah. It'll be
like, thank God I didn't call Ivan for that old person gig.
You would have been great on it too, because you got that road experience to do it. Like Michael Yo was on the show, and he actually texted me, which was totally weird. He was like, "Hey, is it young crowd, old crowd?" Because he'd never been there. I was like, "Oh, it's skewing a little old tonight," and he's like, texting me back. He's like, "Perfect."
Yeah,
and he destroyed.
Yeah,
because he has that road experience.
Totally, and you can. That's why that's the other disadvantage of a theater too. Is like you don't see them. Right. Before you walk out. So you don't know who's out there. This is why I love a club, because you can actually walk through the room and profile people.
You can see who's doing what bits.
We're trying not to do that, but...
Not racially profile, right?
Well,
I mean, maybe.
sometimes.
For the good reasons.
Yeah.
But...
There's a table full of white ladies. Oh, yeah, there's some stuff I can't do.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah. I mean, it's funny because... LA and New York are two of the best comedy towns, and they're mostly showcase lineup sets.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is that stand-up has so many skill sets within it, and everybody has higher points in certain categories than others.
Right.
And that's what's so beautiful about comedy. It isn't just one thing. It isn't just batting. You're not just a batter, you know? You don't just go up and they're like, how often does he hit?
Right.
It's not that. There's no batting average. It's literally like, how good are you with writing? How good are you with stage presence? How good are you with this
putting it all together?
Crowd? Yeah. Assembly, your overall performance.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many categories. And when they do comedy competitions, they try to judge people in these categories. But you could have like a spider graph, I think, of every comic and like where their strengths are.
Yeah,
like cars, how they do like handling, top speed.
They do that in the acting class, like presence, how comfortable before you were in the room, how comfortable after. Like, and it's like this scorecard.
Yeah, I think you could do that with comedy, but there's also so many like subtle little things.
Yeah,
that are not even that no one's aware of. There's so many more things being fired. Right. And it's also one of those things that you can't teach. It just comes from experience. So when you've been doing comedy for 15 years,
right,
you know, it's almost, people are baffled by the abilities that you've accumulated, even though you didn't even know you had them.
Right.
Like in that experience that we're talking about, where you go into a room and the crowd is bad, and then you fix it, and it's a show. People are like, how did you do that? And you're like, well, this is comedy. What do you mean?
This is what we do.
I just do that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I did it.
Right. Or especially like late and they're tired and they've seen like 8 comedians.
Yeah.
And then you got to win that crowd over.
Yeah.
And like, we just spent like an hour and 45 laughing.
Yeah.
And you're coming on to do the last 10 or 15.
But the check drop, you cannot win. The check drop is unbeatable.
Yeah.
Nobody beats check drop. Some people, I like when they just do like a specific check drop thing. Like they're like, oh, the Bills are coming out. I have a song I play while we do this. Like it's such a terrible momentum.
They have check drop bits. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or that's when you start doing crowd work. Hey, like, oh, how was your bill?
Yeah.
Yeah. Add one for me.
But then you're at risk of losing everybody, because if they know that you're just doing crowd work, they're going to be like, oh, I don't have to listen. What did you have? I had the thing. How many did you have?
Very good point. Yeah. It was cool. Like the headliner show you did at Flappers, the double night where I did the feature for you.
Yeah.
That was
awesome.
so much fun. And it was really cool because the first one sold out, right? So they're hot. They're laughing at everything.
Yeah.
And second crowd was probably like 65%.
That's optimistic.
Okay, let's call it 50%. And they were still great, but it was fun to watch you do, like, because you have an act out with your arm.
Yeah.
And then the first one, you just did the act out. And then the second show, you're like, yeah, that's what I do with my arm when I'm trying to act this one thing out.
Yeah.
And you're addressing it more. And it worked both ways because the crowd wanted different things out of that moment.
Yeah. And that's also the ability to, like, identify that. I mean, it all comes with experience.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
but it's such a weird thing, because it's like you can't rush it.
No.
You can't, like...
But you can work harder, I think.
Absolutely, you can work harder.
I'm talking a lot about this acting class today, but they said something
that's huge.
Interesting. They were like, hey, do you want this to take till when you're 75, or do you want to put in more hours and get there faster?
Yeah.
Because it's the same amount of hours.
Totally.
But if you work harder, if you have the ability to work harder and you want it that much, you can get there faster.
Yeah.
So I've seen like a clear difference between people who started out doing more mics, doing more shows, writing more, being like prolific. Every time you see them, they have a new funny bit.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, it's really easy just to coast in comedy or stop or
and
get uncomfortable making that next step to the next level.
And you reach a point where the value you get out of a spot is very, very low.
Yeah.
It's like when you first start, there's so many things you can learn on stage.
Right.
When you bomb, what's happening. Like, it's all this. It's like a baby. You're
yeah.
The whole world is crazy.
Yeah.
Everything about this is crazy.
Right.
But then when you reach a certain point, when you've done enough sets, there's diminishing returns on the value you're going to get out of that spot unless you do your homework. And LA, I think, teaches you to do that more.
Right.
Because there's such... It's just simply, it's spread out. You can't do as many shows in a night as you can in a place like New York.
If you do 3 in a night, you're just like the biggest rock star.
Yeah, exactly. And you're driving like crazy.
Yeah.
And everything's lining up traffic-wise. But it's like, so you have to learn to value those spots more. You have to get more out of them. You got to do your homework. You got to make sure you're ready. Like in Vancouver, that was a very small scene with a lot of shows. So I was able to do sometimes 3 to 5 shows in a night.
Yeah.
5 on the weekends if you were doing like guest spots at the clubs
right.
and then running off to like other shows in between. But yeah, like 5's the top. But like you can do 2, 3 on a weeknight, no problem. And there I would just show up to the first show like this is the start of my shift.
Right.
And I do my set. I make edits for the second show. I change stuff. So by the end of the night, the bit is a little bit better. But here I have to make sure that I'm committing the time. Like I would show up to a show and like write my set list before I'm sitting at the show. And I'm not talking to anybody, or I'm talking, but I'm like writing. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. Whereas here, I think I have to get much more value out of that spot. So I have to do the homework ahead of time.
Right.
You got to do it before I leave the house. You sit down, write out. Here's my set list.
Right.
Here's the jokes I'm going to do. Think about transitions. Think about something new I want to try.
Right.
Where's that going to be? Basically, spend the time that I would normally spend like in the green room, which is what I used to. I mean, I learned this when I headlined clubs too. It was like, because there's not enough time.
No.
When you arrive between the time that you arrive and the time you go on stage, there's not enough time to write your set and figure it out. You have to do that ahead of time.
Right.
And so getting the value out of your spot really depends on what you've done to prepare. It's the same with going to the gym. Like, you can't just walk into the gym and be like, okay, what am I doing today? I mean, there's some people that do that, but if you really want to get
the most out of it,
you know
what you did last time, you know what you need to improve.
You absolutely have a plan. Every second you're doing something, you're like, I don't have to think about what I have to do next. I can focus fully on this activity. Yeah. Because what comes next always comes next.
Like, you can totally eliminate the what else am I going to talk about? Yeah. From your
There's
set.
nothing worse than like being on stage and like doing, even if you're cutting out the what else can I talk about, but you're doing a bit, but you're not fully in the bit because you're thinking about what you're going to do next. And it is this amazing thing that your brain can do where you can be talking but also thinking about what you're going to say next. Yeah. But when you're doing that, the portion of your brain that's committed to what you're thinking about saying next could be also committed to the current performance.
Right, listening and being present instead of thinking about what your next line is.
Yeah, to stay in the rhythm. Yeah. You know.
Or not even what your next line is, like which one of my 10 next lines am I going to go into?
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to have this like and I mean, there are comics that do it and they're great at it and it's awesome, but I always find I get so much more out of a set if I do my homework.
If you're doing an hour, how often are you like, oh wow, I did this 5 instead of this 5, or I did this out of order, or are you very
all the
locked
time.
in?
I'm changing my set around every show,
like
which is bad. I shouldn't do it, but I'm in a developmental stage right now where I'm like really trying to push out this new hour. Right. So every show I'm trying to like pull old stuff out, throw it away, put in this new chunk. But then I'm like, oh, that didn't work, so I got to maybe I'll move it. I'll put a new thing in there. This one will go earlier. Yeah. I don't want to make sure it overlaps with check drop. This is like I'm obsessed with check drop now. This seems like I'm bringing
it's
it
gonna
up
be.
It's gonna
be in the title. We talk about checks.
Only because I talked about it yesterday.
Yeah. But like, do you go up with like you have your plan, you write it out before you get to the place? Yeah. And then, how often do you veer from that plan on stage?
Almost every time, but most of the time it's not. I have the set list written here.
Okay. So you have a sequence.
And then I have notes. If I have notes at the bottom, so I do the set list up here, and then if I have things I need to do, I'll add. Or if it's like a new bit, and there's pieces of the bit that I have to remember. Yeah. These are like the key points that I'll write down at the bottom. But for a long set, I write it down like that.
Was it BC Dairy?
The BC Dairy Association.
Nice.
Dairy farmers.
I put like the new classic, the bits I know are the bits I put on the left. And then when I have new stuff, I have on the right.
Oh, that's good.
So if I happen to glance down, or if I have a new part on an old bit, if I glance down my paper, it's like, oh, make sure you add that tag or add that little thing in between. Yeah. So, because so often I go up on stage with a plan with the new stuff, and then I'm like, oh, I forgot the new line in the thing because I was caught up in the moment.
Oh, all the time. Or I bail on it, like the audience doesn't feel right.
Right. Well, if you don't have the confidence to sell, if you're not selling it yourself, you're already dead. Yeah. If you hate it, they can feel it. They can feel everything.
I'm trying to do more like stories on stage now. Yeah. And that's because I used to just do bits, and a bit, like basically older bits that was like an examination of a specific thing. Yeah. You know, like I'd say I'm talking about, I don't know, salad. Yeah. I would be like, salad. And then you'd do your thesis of like, here's what I think about salad. And then you just start doing things about salad. But if people stop laughing, you can be like, well, that's enough for salad and just move on. Yeah, right. But if you're doing a story, you have to finish the story. Right. So if you're in the middle of the story and people are like, we don't care for this story. Yeah. Like if it's new and there's not enough spots along the way where there's laughs, you're like, oh boy. But doing that is good because it helps you keep the story brief.
Keep it brief and also being comfortable in the silence. Yeah. And humans like stories. So sometimes they'll be quiet and but they want you to keep going. Yeah. And there just might be a point where you have less laughs per minute or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that that's another thing that people talk about is like very important is like crushing laughs per minute. Yeah. I think that it's great and it's awesome, and I think that it's very important to be funny. That's the whole point of why we're here. Right. But I think that people now are attracted, just from an audience, from a business side of it, it's like you have to have a point of view. And again, I'm using these vague terms like point of view, finding your voice, but it's like
a perspective.
Yeah, or just something that hooks people. A good narrative,
right?
A good movie. It's like
right. Because if you have bits and you have something to say,
yeah. But I'm going to use Birbiglia as the example.
Oh yeah,
that special came out, but he'd been touring that on Broadway
you watch it?
forever. Yeah,
that was great.
It's incredible.
So good.
It's so good,
Yeah.
and it's like it's got laughs. There's some huge laughs, but sometimes along the way he goes longer between laughs than a comedian would be comfortable doing.
Right.
But he can do it, and it works so well.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Obviously, there's so many moving parts in that, which is like you have your audience that knows. You couldn't just. It's like people don't understand. You couldn't just take if you just take Birbiglia's act.
Yeah.
And give it to you, and then you go to like some club in like Oregon and do it. It's people be like, shut up, stop doing the thing. Like, it's
so him.
Yeah. And Gallman talked about that too, with his last special. He was just talking about mental illness, and he was touring that.
That was one of my favorite specials last year.
Yeah. It was so good. This year. And he was touring that at clubs, which is like,
that's
so brave. So good
brave
for him to just be like, well, if it works here, it'll be great. I mean, sometimes doing these clubs, it's not fun and it's not good, and you're not going to crush every time, because sometimes you don't want to kill with a certain type of crowd, but it will show you where the weak points in your set are.
Right.
And that's important.
Yeah.
It's very important to do rooms where you don't do well.
Right.
And I think that's something that people they're like, I want to kill every time. I'm like, yeah, it feels great. It feels great to kill every time.
Yeah.
But you also want to take your act to the place where it's bad.
That's another Seinfeldism. He's like, the best comedians are shaped by a combination of good and bad audiences. Yeah. The good ones help you explore, and the bad ones help you edit.
Yeah, totally. But even just not just from your act perspective, like even your own.
Oh, like your own.
Like you have to be comfortable.
You gotta be hardened.
Bombing.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to be able to sit there. It's like being in the dentist chair.
Yeah. We could go to a couple open mics right now and bomb at 2 p.m.
Yeah. Like I think
if you need it.
Yeah. Where you're just there and you're like, this sucks. Oh, this is so bad. But I have to.
But we're here. We're doing it.
And then when there's that scene in Comedian where he gets off stage and he's like, man, I hated that crowd. And they're like, you look like you were having a great time. And he's like, that is my job.
Yeah, that's my job. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so many great moments in that film.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's come up a lot in the pod.
It's got a lot of hidden, I think it's one of those things that's like, it's very instructional and you can get a lot of information from it watching it over and over again. And the further you are along in comedy, when you go back and watch, you'll see things that you're like, oh, that didn't matter to me back then, but now I'm like, oh my God.
It's almost like the Bible in a way. It's like you can read it several times and you're like, oh,
I mean, that's pretty.
No.
It's great. I mean, it is the first and highest budget, comprehensive documentary about what it takes to build an act that's out there. And so that's why it's so important. And people are like, oh, I don't really like just Jerry, but it's like, who cares? This is important to watch the way that he's one of the best working.
Yeah.
And this is how he does it. Nobody shows you that. That's like so rare.
And to have like the other comedians like Colin Quinn like commenting on stuff and like
Colin's
giving him advice too, and because there was no podcast back then. Like now you have so many. You can listen to Joe Rogan and get great comedian advice. You can listen to all these other comedians constantly talking about what it is to be a comedian and the nuances. That was probably the only thing.
It was. I remember when I started. It was the only I had it on
other
DVD.
Than like the books that were pretty like.
Colin Quinn had a podcast way back that was just recorded phone calls.
Okay.
Of him and I forget who it was. It was a comic I didn't know. And I remember listening to it. It was like so early in like iTunes when podcasts like weren't even a thing.
Yeah.
At all. And I think it's still out there. I want to try to find it because it was great. Colin's the best.
Oh, he's so funny. I want to see him live. I've never seen him live, but
he's incredible.
Yeah.
I saw him at Just for Laughs where he had to go up. It was like one of these comedy competitions, and he had to go up and like kill time while the judges were like deliberating.
Okay.
And he like again, one of these guys just didn't seem like he had any set planned at all. Just went up. All right, here we go. And he's so like grounded, and there's so many little subtle things that like the average person wouldn't even notice. But as a comic, you're like, oh, he's incredible.
Yeah. Like
what he's doing right now is so on another level. you compare it to anything. It's like music or like fighters when people fight. It's like, how did he slip that jab? I don't even understand.
Right.
Colin has all of those because he's been doing it for so long. He's just battle hardened.
Yeah.
Totally
knows who he is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
audience knows who he is instantly.
Yeah. And he has this way of like, even if you've never seen him before, he pulls you right in.
Right.
He's completely honest.
Yeah.
And or that's what he chooses to come across as.
Right.
And people are just so attracted to that genuine person.
Right. Some of the things we talk about on the pod are like kind of like business oriented and.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
are we recording?
No,
are we starting now?
So funny. Oh, dude, my nightmare. I had one podcast already. We didn't press record. I had to redo,
no.
But it was fine. It was fine. It was with Jessica Kelly, and we did great. Another Canadian.
I like Jessica.
But I find like your whole like the Ivan Decker business so interesting because it kind of goes against the grain of what other comedians are chasing. I think so because
I'm not funny.
No, not stop. But because like, what's your like Instagram follower count?
It's pretty low.
Like 5,000.
Yeah, it's like 6.
So you're 5,000. You tour theaters.
Yeah.
You have a Netflix special.
Yeah.
You won the Juno for Best Comedy Album. Which, for those who don't know, that's the Canadian Grammy for like best. So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So adding up those pieces, what in your mind makes you a draw? Because there's a lot of people here chasing, I would say, Instagram draw, being like, if I only had 30,000 followers, I could tour. But I don't really know that is correct because it's more than that to be a draw. You can't just have followers online.
Yeah, I mean, when I go to clubs, I get people who've heard the album on SiriusXM, and so that's how I think people know me, and they find me and they go through my website or stuff like that. I mean, it's hard because I'm not chasing a specific, like the Instagram demographic is quite narrow.
Right.
You lose older people and younger people that are like, I don't know, on TikTok. Or
right.
Whatever. And now the whole young market is kind of insane to me. But because of the style of comedy that I do, I get a lot of people that are like, I wish I could have brought my kids to see this.
Right.
You know, like
word of mouth.
Yeah, word of mouth and people, I think the connectivity of being able to watch something as a family is so good. I mean, the way that people consume comedy now though is pretty, I mean, there used to only be one TV in the house,
right,
which is why sitcoms were the way they were.
Right, yeah.
But
that's a good point. I never thought about that.
I still have the stand-up element of like, because I remember as a kid sitting down to watch Seinfeld's final show, the Telling It for the Last Time.
Oh yeah,
we watched that live on HBO.
I got to give you the audio CD before you go too, because it's different from the video one.
Yeah, the set list on the phone. It's had this thing called Phones. Something about phones that's not in the thing.
Yeah, but it's like it's a different recording, so it's like it all has different nuances.
Oh,
different,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. But anyway, good.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
But we watched that together, and it was like my youngest sibling that was there was probably like 9.
Yeah.
And I was 12. And my dad's, it's like this whole range of ages.
Right.
And we're all watching it and we all love it. We're all laughing.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I'm like, that's the kind of comedy that I want to do.
Right.
I want to have people be able to, like, around the holidays or whatever, we're all in the house. We got to sit down and watch this.
Right.
We watch it together. And then, you know, the parents like it, the kids like it. Then they come see you.
Right.
As the whole family can come to
generational.
the show. Now you're selling 5 tickets.
Yeah.
Or if, you know, when the kids get older, they've all got significant others. Now you're selling 10.
Right.
You know, you're selling a lot more if you can get families, a whole family to come see you.
Totally.
And that's just from the business perspective of like
why
I do the kind of comedy that I do. But I think it's just, that's just what I'm attracted to, because I remember that moment so vividly.
Yeah.
Of like, I can't believe we're all laughing so hard at just a guy talking on TV.
Did you have a moment where you tried to not be clean and it didn't work for you, or?
Yeah, like, well, when I went on the road early on, I don't do this anymore. I stay clean now, but when I was opening for comics who weren't clean,
Yeah.
there's no reason for me to be clean because I'm not the show.
Right.
I'm just there to learn.
Yeah.
And so I did an experiment where I was like, if I do the same jokes, just like stuff about microwaves and Subway sandwiches.
Right.
But I curse in it. Like, I just say, like, fucking microwave.
Yeah.
It's fucking ridiculous. And, like, that worked. It fooled them.
Yeah.
Into thinking, like, oh, this guy's cool. Because I was also very young.
Right.
When I started comedy, I was 19. So
okay,
when
so
I toured.
Your young 20s, like.
And I looked 11. Like, you know, I looked so young.
Yeah.
I'm gaining weight now, so I look like an older man. But,
So you're like, look at this kid swearing on stage.
And yeah, they were like, look at that. It's neat.
Yeah.
But if you're just a kid going up being like, hamsters are a weird pet.
Yeah,
Like, fuck you.
Right,
we
totally.
hate this.
Yeah. But it's also not like the audience teaches you what's funny about yourself. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah. And those road gigs were so valuable to me. But yeah, I mean, I cursed a lot more. And I had a few jokes where there was one joke I wrote where I couldn't find a better thing than saying, like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like that. It had to be that. And I did it for a gala. That was the only time I've had to clear language.
Yeah.
At Just for Laughs, being like, can I say shit? They're like, yeah, man.
Like, yeah.
It's fine.
Right.
This guy over here is trying to talk about cum for 4 minutes straight.
Right.
So it's like, but I still don't, because it removes that, like, people don't want to, if they think you're going to curse,
Yeah.
they don't want to watch it with their kids or whatever. I mean, I
Right.
don't know what people are like. I mean, we swore all the time in my house. That's the other thing, is like, so my cleanness does not come from
You being puritanical.
me being puritanical
Right,
or
yeah.
growing up in a religious household.
Yeah.
Or it's got nothing to do with that.
Right.
I think it's the opposite.
Yeah.
We were swearing so much. I mean, it just sounds like I was raised by
Like
wolves.
sailors.
But it's like,
Yeah.
we didn't really care. I had a single mom. And
Yeah.
so it was like, we swore all the time in my house. It didn't matter. There was no punishment for it. Friends from school would like come over and be like, I like coming to your house. We can swear here. They were like, yeah, come on over to the Decker house and swear your face off.
Yeah, so you had enough.
So I kind of got like, I got past it. I got kind of bored. There's nothing
Yeah.
titillating about it to me.
Yeah.
Swearing. And then also I think combined with the working with kids, it just kind of left my lexicon because you can't just let it slip out when you're around children. So if your day job, you're 40 hours a week, you're around kids you can't swear.
No, yeah.
Then you never do.
Yeah,
it just
kinda
kind of
goes
fell
away.
out of my vocabulary.
Yeah.
And I just don't do it because I find it funnier to, you know, you can sometimes even find a more creative word for something.
Right.
I forget who it was like there was some rapper that was talking about that, about how like if you say motherfucker, if you curse, that's a placeholder for a better line.
Right.
A better rhyme could go in there. And why not have every single piece, every word in your set be the perfect one and the right one?
Wow. That's a great saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I started this, like, I also do clean. It's just what I feel most comfortable with. And I've tried, like, working in, like, sex jokes or swearing more. And every time the audience is like, we don't want that from you.
Yeah,
You
I know.
just-
And that's
just-
also the
just
thing.
stop.
Sometimes
Yeah.
they reject it. They're like,
Yeah.
no thanks.
I've
And-
tried it several times, like, premises around that stuff. And they're like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do it.
No. But that's a really good rapper quote. Do you remember who it was?
I think it was Eminem. I'm going to credit it to him, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Because he doesn't really use... I mean, if he does, he'll curse, but he, like... I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not him. I'm just thinking back. I don't know who it was.
Right. And then you're going to Utah Wise Guys soon, right?
I am.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm there for New Year's with Nikki Glaser. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, 30th and 31st?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm headlining 30th. She's headlining 31st, and I'm hosting for her.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm gonna be up there skiing, so I'm gonna escape the family.
Oh,
and,
nice.
And come hang out.
Oh, you're going to come?
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We have this trip for 7 days, which
Yeah.
is insane amount of time to go to Utah.
Yeah. And do you ski? How often do you ski? You can't ski that often. You live here.
No, well, I mean, I snowboard, but
Yeah.
I grew up in Vancouver, so
Yeah.
I snowboarded a lot growing up. But my knees all bummed out.
Yeah. Which is also, that's like very optimistic to have a 7-day ski trip because you go on day 1 And then you're like, well, I'm very sore.
Right.
I can't move.
Right.
And everybody's like, gear up. We're going today, too. And you're like,
yeah.
No way.
I'll be like texting you, can I please come? What are you doing?
Man.
Yeah.
I'll be around. I've never been to Salt Lake City.
No, me either. I've never been to Utah.
Yeah.
You can almost drive from here. It's 10 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have driven.
That's what I thought that today. I was like, man, we're packing up the kids. We're putting them all in planes, and we're renting a car when we're there. I'm like, I could have just like.
Yeah, if you drive.
We could have put all of our stuff. Power through the drive.
Drive overnight. Although, I don't know. Is there mountains between here and there? It might be pretty treacherous.
But I think we're doing the treacherous part anyway, right? Like from the Salt Lake. I've never been, but Salt Lake to the mountain. Isn't that the.
Yeah.
So we're still renting a car. And it's going to be cold. Do you look at the weather?
No.
It's below, below zero.
Okay.
So it's like 23 degrees Fahrenheit.
I'm going to Canada for Christmas, so I'll get all my coats.
Get your Canadian goose and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm happy you're going to be in town.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Well, I think this was great, dude. Thanks for coming. And do you want to tell people about you, where they find you? And
you can be one of my the Decker 6000 on Instagram.
Yeah. And I didn't mean that in a bad way. I meant it like, actually, we didn't really finish that. The thought I had there was that because like you're getting everything like that a lot of people want, like Netflix, touring. You have real fans who come out to the shows.
Yeah.
But it's not because you have Instagram. And I think like some of the social media stuff can be like kind of like false false confidence.
It's itchy and scratchy dollars.
Right.
It does.
Someone said something about followers, which is very interesting. They're like, yeah, you think these people are following you, but that same person is following like thousands of other people. So they're not like your fans. They're one person in like a millions of different rows.
Yeah.
And it's just the same way email for like promotion is so much better than social media because it's actually going like one-to-one to a person.
And we love numbers. So people love big numbers.
Right.
Something we love. So we look at the number.
Right.
And they're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
300,000.
And so your agent will book the tour for you.
Yeah.
And he knows like how many, like your audience in different cities and what they can sell. And they talk to the different.
And so like, I'm not on like this cross Canada tour was with a brand. It was with Just for Laughs.
Okay.
And it was with Rick Mercer, who's like very famous in Canada.
Okay. Yeah.
And should be down here because he's hilarious.
Yeah.
But so in that situation, it's like I don't think my name alone was selling, but it was nice to be on the poster. And I think there were some people, like I definitely got some interactions on social media being like, we came to see you, it's so great. Yeah. And so there is a little bit of that, but then like when I'm doing clubs and stuff, I don't think I'm pulling a lot. But but
you're doing like ice. You go to Ice House, it's sold out.
Yeah, the element that I provide is a good product. I don't provide the social media following of like the people that are going to come. And then, because you don't know these fans, you never met them before. What if they're terrible people? If they come and they're rowdy and but
I think that's the whole mystery. Like, do they come? Like, what does it mean?
And nobody can really answer that. It's the same but in anything. It's not even just in comedy. It's like brands, like Kit Kat. It's like if we buy ads on Twitter is actually very interesting because they do not have an ROI that they can provide. They have no numbers. Right. They can't tell you, like, if you buy these ads, you'll get this much money. Whereas, like, Facebook does, Instagram does. Right. But even Facebook ads, like, I have a friend who's promoting his album recording on Instagram. But I keep seeing it. I was like, I know. I'm on the show. I'm hosting it. Right. Like, it's coming up in my Instagram stories. Because, when you do stories, there's now an ad between almost every story. Right, yeah. And it's his ad constantly. But I'm like, and I know so many people that they buy ads on Facebook, but it just goes to their followers. Yeah, like I buy ads for the show sometimes when I'm like, it's a little low. Let me juice it with an ad. Yeah. And then you look at it, it's like tons of impressions, like 3 clicks. I'm like, did this do anything? Yeah. Like, I had a video on... I don't know. It was my first Facebook video that got over 1 million views. On my fan page, but it was like a video that Just for Laughs posted of one of my galas, and I shared it, and then it got to the point it had like 100,000 impressions or whatever. You know, on Facebook, it's got the thing where you can click boost post. Yeah, yeah. So for that one, it was like I was like, well, this would be a good post to boost because it's doing well. Right. It was like boost unavailable. You can't boost posts that are already doing well. You can only boost like shitty posts. Do you think maybe it had something in it? Because I usually get notifications saying, hey, this one's doing well, why don't you boost it? Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was like, can't do it. we've exhausted. I think because it got shared outside of my circle.
Right.
Because the thing you want is like, when you share something, you don't want it to just go to your followers. They're already your followers.
Right.
You want them to share it and have their friends share it. Those are the two levels.
Right.
Your followers share it. That's okay.
Yeah.
But they're already following you, so whatever they do doesn't matter. But if you can get that third hook, if you can get it to go like your follower, their follower, and then one of their, then when you get out, you break outside your bubble. That's when
it's real.
Things can do well, and I think that's will become good exposure. But as far as draw is concerned, I have no clue.
Yeah.
And I don't think I mean, people do, and then it all changes. Like, I think the way people talk about the algorithm, like it's some sort of deity that we all have to pray to and outsmart the algorithm. You just gotta, what is the algorithm like? They talk about the algorithm like it's a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I hear YouTubers talk about this all the time.
Oh,
the algorithm likes 8-minute videos now. Oh, they changed it. Algorithm wants 12 today.
Yeah.
Like, this is insane.
If I post something like in the sweet spot, which is, from what I understand, between 9 and 10 a.m., versus any other time, it's a massive difference. Yeah. In terms of like likes and things and everything. I'm like, it's the same post. I'm just promoting like whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's such a crazy, and it's what I don't like about it is that it is so, you feel like you're grasping at straws. Like if you're going to put effort into something, if I put effort into my act, that's the one thing I can control where I know the work, I've seen it come back positive. Right. Because if you dive in, if you become really good at social media, and it works for a lot of people. Right. But I feel like there's so much of it that is like, well, I did all that and it didn't really do anything.
There was another Seinfeld interview from like the 90s, and he was talking about, man, they got these comedy competitions in Vegas, and like, you know, they got the managers there and the agents and all these people coming to see the comedians and seminars. He's like, if I ran that seminar, I'd put up one sign at the beginning of the seminar. It says, just do the work. Yeah. And I'd send everyone home.
Yeah. But what is the work? And I think that's a hard...
And that's, I guess for him, it's writing and being funny or better jokes.
Yeah. But that used to be all it was in the 90s. It was very easy to be a comedian, or easier, because it was basically like, you write your jokes, you go on stage. Right. That's your job. Yeah. Now, because of social media...
It's part of the job.
Part of the job is now like, do an Instagram thing, do Twitter, check your Twitter, interact with your fans.
Clipping.
Respond to people. Somebody message you.
Right.
Gotta message them back. Got to be on it.
Right.
Facebook fan page. Look in there. Oh, whoops, you got a lot of messages. Didn't know they were there. Better respond to all those. Yeah. Oh, great. Somebody on Instagram tagged you in a thing. Is it good? Better share it to your story. Right. And then it's 4:00 and you're like, I didn't write anything.
Yeah, it's easily an hour a day. Easily. What do you think about clipping? Like taking clips and putting captions and...
Oh yeah, I did it twice, but then I ran out of... I had a codec error on one of my videos that like wouldn't go into the thing, and then I bailed on it because it was like, I'd given it as much technical effort as I could, and then I was like, I don't want to try to figure this out.
Oh, like it wouldn't export or something?
Yeah, it was like, and then trying to like rip stuff off YouTube. I think what I should do is like pull my Conan set and like rip that apart and do like those little clips, but I don't know if I'm allowed to do that either. It's like also I don't know who owns that content, so can I do it? But like I said, that Just for Laughs clip, if they did it when they did it for me, I posted, it did really well. Right. So if it's a good bit, I think it's great. But it's also like you see people whose entire Instagram account is that.
I mean, that's what everyone's doing. Everyone's following the Schultz model for everything, basically. Like,
and I heard that started at The Cellar, because The Cellar, it was The Cellar used to have this like night where you'd go up and you'd do new stuff. Right. And then they would record it, and then they would clip it for you. And then people would just post that, and then they saw how well it did.
Yeah, and the Laugh Factory too.
Yeah, and then there are comics. I mean, these are the best comics in the world, so of course they're great. Like Sam Morrill, Mark Norman, Phil Hanley. Like these guys are all so good at it. Right. But it was such a great way for them to then reach an audience. Yeah. But again, I don't know if it still works. Yeah. Because any of these things that happen and then they work, do they still work? Right. Like, can you start a YouTube channel now where you play video games and become PewDiePie?
I don't know.
No, you can't. There's already a PewDiePie.
But it's always hard to know like what inning of the thing you're in. Are we in the inning 2 for clipping? Is it almost over? Like, you only know in hindsight like where you were at.
Yeah.
It's the same with like, are we in this like early game for Netflix specials? Are there too many? Are there not enough? Like,
yeah,
you don't know until you've kind of like gone down the road. Are we in a comedy bubble? Are we in a stock market bubble? You don't know until the bubble's gone. You're like, oh, it was obviously a comedy bubble.
Yeah,
it was obviously
hindsight's
a stock.
20/20.
Yeah, like, oh, of course I saw the real estate bubble coming. I sold everything. I'm in Hawaii. I just own gold. There's always one guy who did that.
Yeah.
I heard there was a Simpsons writer that one guy he was so smart that like in the 80s or something whenever they're doing the show, he's like, oh, we just buy gold. And they're like, yeah, we're writing Simpsons, guys, stop talking about gold. And he like bought all this gold, and now he's like the richest one of all of them, like owns private islands and stuff.
Yeah.
I always have fantasies of being like that kind of like antisocial esoteric. I'm not saying he was, but like just like knowing, being like, oh yeah, it's obviously it's pork belly futures, and you just do it. Everyone's like, you're crazy, and then like
pork belly's not gonna work. It goes bad. It's like weed. Weed was the big one this year.
Oh yeah.
So like Canada, where they federally legalized.
But that was like hype. Yeah, it paid off for some people.
It paid off for people who sold very early.
Yeah,
for people who sold to the people who thought it was gonna pay off big.
Yeah.
There's like 3,000 tons or something of it just sitting in storage now. No one's, because everybody bought it because it's a commodity. They're like, oh, weed, it's gonna be huge. And so now,
it stored it.
Now
it must be like frozen sealed or something.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know. I guess you can vacuum seal it, but it's like there's still a shelf life.
Yeah.
But I guess it's like tobacco. They think so. It's like you can buy it, you can sit on it.
Right.
But now there's way too much supply. The demand is so much lower. People aren't consuming weed. The way that the person who I talked to that worked in finance broke it down, they were like, the amount of weed, in order for weed to become profitable again in Canada, there's so much of it sitting there. Every person in Canada needs to smoke 3 pounds next year.
Yeah. Well, that's tobacco. You can smoke cigarettes all day. They had smoking things on plane. They're like, smoke here, smoke when you get out.
They used the wrong model. They used the tobacco model.
Right.
They should have used
an
alcohol model.
Yeah, but even alcohol, you can like, I think you consume more of it.
And
different varieties.
Weed, you're like, I smoke one joint and I'm done for the night. If it's good, you're like, I'm out. Nobody's like going through packs of very few people are, but it's like I think that the average casual user, and especially the type of user that you're now going to attract, that it's legal,
right?
It's like people who smoked it when they were a kid and they were like, oh yeah, I think maybe I'd like to get back into that,
right?
And then they smoke it and then they're like, oh my god, my brain exploded, because weed only caters to, because the way it's sold, it only caters to the heavy user,
right?
So the strains are getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And so when you go and buy weed now, you're not buying weed for people that smoke it once in a while because they don't do it. There's no reason to cater to them. The market is for the people who smoke it every day.
Yeah, it's a culture. It's a lifestyle for this young. You see them like LA just smells like weed 24/7 everywhere you go. Yeah,
and like some of those people, you can handle these like heavy strains.
Yeah,
I did this show, and I don't know if the video is still out there, but I did the Gateway show where you like...
Gateway show?
You do a set, then you get high, then you come back and do another set.
Oh, okay.
It's like, it happens here. I did it in Seattle. And I told them, I was like, I don't really smoke weed.
Yeah.
I smoke it maybe twice a year.
Yeah.
And I don't think I smoked it at all last year. But I'll still do the show. I think it'll be fun. But if you could just give me like a joint or something. And the guy set me up with a dab, which is like... It's basically like condensed THC into this gel.
Okay.
Or like, they call it butter, I guess. And they put it on a pin and they superheat this glass thing. It's basically like crack of weed. Like it's super highly concentrated, crystallized. And you smoke like, it's like, somebody told me it's like 10 joints all at once. And I took a hit off this thing and I was like, I couldn't function.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't drive. I can't do anything. I finished my set. I was just like laying on the floor of the theater. They're like, we have to go. The show's over. I was like,
Yeah. But I'll see you tonight. Thanks for doing the pod.
Hey, thanks for having
find
me.
Ivan Decker at...
Sorry, Ivan W. Decker on Instagram and Ivan Decker on Twitter. And Google me.
Google him. Watch his Netflix. Follow the pod at It's Show Business Pod. And good night.
Good night. Unless it's the after.